When you are at a place where you're wanting to create content, you have to think, what is the purpose of this? Who's my target audience? And what does my target audience care about?
So I'm curious what your path looks like in your own words right now, and why you decided to take the step back from working for someone else to actually owning your own business and owning your career, where really if you and your husband and your family move going forward, it probably won't matter. You can just pick up your briefcase and have a day.
My pathway into entrepreneurship is kind of parallels with my pathway into motherhood. And it got to a place where my husband's job was moving us around the country. And when you're a trailing spouse, you really lose a lot of your negotiation power because you're moving on someone else's plan. And so I needed to find a job pretty quickly because we were wanting to start a family. And the way that FMLA in this country works is that you have to be employed for 9 months if you want to get FMLA benefits. And so, I didn't have the luxury of a really long time to find a job, and I had to make moves that made more sense for him than made sense for me. And I didn't get to rise the ladder that I wanted to rise. And my career was great, and I loved the work that I was doing, but I felt like I may not reach the level that I wanted to reach if I stayed the course that I was doing. And I also wanted flexibility with my kids. And being an entrepreneur, I work a lot. I work a lot of weekends. I work sometimes late at night, but I also get to pick my hours. And so if I want to go to my daughter's school, I can do that. If I want to do a special breakfast, I can do that. And so I think for me and my values and my goals, this path worked the best for me.
I think it's so great that you're so in touch with your audience that your voice does resonate with them. Because some people, they'll post just for the sake of posting, or, just trying to follow what someone else is doing or share someone else's thoughts. We all have our own unique perspective, and we can demonstrate what we've learned. And I think you do a really great job of that. So if people aren't following you, they should.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I think my secret, if I were to boil it down to anything, is just recognizing that you could go anywhere to learn. Like you could pull up the Harvard Business Review, or you could pull up the Wall Street Journal and read articles. But I think the beauty of LinkedIn is that people like to learn from people that they relate to. And the best way to connect with your audience is through stories. So I always stay in my lane. I know job searching. And so, 99.99% of my posts are about job searching and resumes and interviews. So it's in my lane. But I always start with the story first. And I have a little file in my iPhone where when I'm kind of driving or taking a shower, whatever, and I think of a great idea, I put it in my phone and I start with the story. And then because I know my subject matter, it's really easy to expand on that and connect the story to the advice or the story to the research.
That's awesome. So when you're thinking of these stories or they come across your mind, how personal are you getting? And is there a line that you try to stay, between?
Yeah. A lot of times they're real client stories. They're real things that happen with people. And I don't ever give identifying information on a client because that's their story and I owe them complete privacy. You have to think about the end goal, and the end goal can change. But when you are at a place where you're wanting to create content, you have to think, what is the purpose of this? Who's my target audience? And what does my target audience care about? And when you define your purpose and your audience, it's a lot easier to create content. I've had people come to me recently and say, hey, Sarah, my goal is to be a top voice. What do I need to do to make that happen? And I've said to them, why do you want to be a top voice? What is it about being a top voice that you really want? And they've said, well, I really want recognition, or I want to be a thought leader, or I want to be acknowledged and get more clients. And I'll tell you this, being a top voice hasn't gotten me new clients necessarily. People have never reached out to me and said, I want to hire you because you're a top voice.
Right.
People hire me because of the content that I write. And if you really want those things, then write content and start with posts or articles and just demonstrate what you've learned. And there's some consistency to it. I write posts 4 days a week, and I have for the last almost 3.5 years. And people hire me because of what they read, what I write, and because they connect with me. And if you want to be a thought leader, if you want more opportunities, if you want more clients, I say, right. I would encourage your audience to look with outside of themselves. And what I mean by that is, we can sometimes, and I myself am very included in this, can be really internally focused, and we can focus on what's wrong, why we're not getting what we want, why the world, seems to not be working in the way that we want it to work. But I think when we focus on external factors, other people, being kind, being gracious, loving people really well, and I think that's when we find our true happiness ourselves, not in what we get, but what we give.
That's so beautiful.